It's only when you have done a bit of acting you realise, oh my God, what was I doing? Well, I was on a high wire. I think young actors are going to have to make their own work, and a lot of them are doing it. This period is very exciting because the arts will be starved, and this is the most exciting time because this is when the best work is always done. Because when there's something to say, people get up and say it. Theatre had changed so much when I started acting. There still was a very good repertory system, and it was on its last legs, but it was there. So that's where I was able to start. And I was able to play big parts like Juliet and Beatty and Roots and things like this, so that I was lucky. I knew when I first started I could get on. I knew I could stay there for a bit, but I didn't know how to get off. I remember thinking, but I don't know how to leave. So, but there isn't that thing, or there isn't the opportunity for young people to be thrown in the deep end so much anymore. They have to make their own deep ends, as it were. Now there are so many different ways of putting a show together, whether it is on YouTube, whether you want to do it, write it yourself and get the money together and go to a festival, wherever it may be. For those who are bloody-minded enough, because I think it comes down to that in the end. You know, talent's very common, but actually, have you got the right nature? Have you got this sort of, I think it is, as Shakespeare says, opus severans, Have you got that? Because that will see you through. The other bit, And so actors, young actors, naturally don't have the same fear as you have later, because it's only when you have done a bit of acting you realise, oh my God, what was I doing? Well, I was on a high wire and I didn't fall off, but I might fall. Then you go, oh, but I might fall. You've got this sort of wonderful chutzpah when you're in your 20s. And when you're honest about it, and there are many small theatres now that are absolutely terrific for good. That's what there is instead of rep. And I've seen some great things. I think young actors are going to have to make their own work, and a lot of them are doing it. And they're writing plays, and they're putting them on, and they're managing to get money. First of all, it's Dear Old Family, and then it's, cake sales and who knows whatery that's going on to actually get the show on the road. I think that this period is very exciting because the arts will be starved, and this is the most exciting time because this is when the best work is always done. Because when there's something to say, people get up and say it. And there will be people going, no, I have to voice something of what I feel. So young writing is vital, because without young writing, young writers, and without young actors, and I don't always mean ones actually that have gone through the schools. I have done some directing in schools, but I also am very interested in the work that children are doing and what their kind of role in using theatre as a way of voicing their problems and their sense of humour and their wild imagination. That really interests me because that is grassroots. And if we don't have, I hate it when the theatre is just a middle class, or like the opera, when the opera is open to everybody, how wonderful is that? When there are screens in the park and we can see it. Marvellous. And you can then choose to see it or not see it, doesn't matter. But with kids, to feel that they can make their own movies. And they can, because they're all pretty versant with computers. Make their own movies. They can cut, they can edit, they can do stuff from titchy. They're, you know, that is where the future will be. And when times is tough, and it will be, because not only climate change, but poverty, and we will not have the NHS in the same way, there is lots to talk about, and lots to make something funny, because that is often the way of getting a real message across. And I all I can say is, I just recently was doing some work at the Globe, and some of these little moppets that came in, honestly, they were teeny, they were like this. They were terrific. They were so tough, and they were so funny. The age of the director is often seen now as someone who will use film, or use sometimes the actors almost in a Brechtian way or in a Dadaist way as almost a puppet. For me, that is not so interesting. The kind of imaginative work that I've seen and I've been lucky enough to work with, I mean, I know that for my father it was Tyrone Guthrie was the great visionary, and then Peter Brook, and he worked quite a lot with both of them. And for me, I was incredibly lucky to work with Harold Pinter, and again, sort of, how can I explain, it was ruthlessly honest people. In certain ways, they would go on and burrow away at what they were trying to find out. I worked with Michael Bogdanov in a company called the ESC, and he had an extraordinary vision as well. He'd worked a lot in Germany, and his visual images and concepts have been, because the theatre just swallows a trope and continues to regurgitate and reuse this trope. And it comes again and again. But he's an unsung hero. And actually, I would like to say thanks to him too.